Okay, so I'm reshooting this video because the last time I tried it, the audio wasn't that good. I'm trying it with this mic here, so hopefully that'll come out better. I just wanted to go for a drive and then talk about kind of like summary thoughts on the various things I've been working on. The two the two main things I've been working on has been the lower control arm ball joint, which required me to realign the vehicle, the front end. I'm gonna put the air conditioning on. So in doing that, I bought a do-it-yourself kit from Tenholzen or something like that, and that's proven to be quite an ordeal. I'm not even sure if it's 100% aligned right now. I say that because there's two things going on. One is whether I'm using the unit correctly, whether I'm measuring it correctly. The second is the adjustments on the vehicle. It's a couple things that I went through, some growing pains, learning curves, whatever you want to call it. But one was I wasn't torquing down the nuts for the eccentric washers tight enough in between measurements or in between adjustments, because I didn't think it needed to be torqued down that much, but it turns out it does. Basically, you have to torque it down to spec. The other thing that I've learned later is that you need your ride height on both the front and the rear set correctly before doing any adjustments. And that's with a full tank of gas. So that took me a long time to figure out. And then on top of all that, what I was doing was I was lifting the side of the vehicle that I was working on in adjusting either camber or caster. And when you do that, you have to drive the vehicle to have it settle back down. And it takes a long distance over varying terrain for the suspension to fall all the way back down or back to its normal correct ride height, or whatever ride height that you set it at, assuming it's within spec. So that took me forever to figure out, which is very frustrating. So like, I think somewhere online it says drive it 5 miles or something like that, and it's not. It's more like 10 to 15 miles and over rough terrain, train tracks, whatever, so that it settles the suspension down. So that's another thing that took me a long time to figure out. All right, so I'm still kind of tweaking that ever so slightly. The other thing was I was having a warm engine start issue where when the engine was warm and I tried starting the vehicle, it would bog down and sometimes stall. I replaced the CPS thinking that might have been the issue, but come to find out that's more of a on-off, meaning the CPS either works or doesn't work, and the engine either, I guess, starts or doesn't start. But I replaced that nonetheless. It was relatively easy for me to replace. And I'm okay replacing that. It wasn't that expensive. The other thing is I ended up replacing the fuel regulator and I want to say dampers. So there's one damper, I believe, and 2 regulators, or vice versa. Anyways, all those parts from 928 RS cost me well over $600, maybe $650 or something like that. and I was really hesitant to buy it, but I did it anyways, and I'm glad I did because that fixed the problem. So I'm going to say generally, if you have any kind of starting issue where it's bogging down or something like that during idle, that might be something you want to look at, are the fuel regulators. There's 3 of them, at least in this version. There's 3, there's 1 regulator and 2 dampers, or vice versa. Again, 1 damper, 2 regulators. But it's costly. All right, so anyways, there's that. And then the last thing that I didn't really mention on video or anything like that was every once in a while, as I was going over bumps while turning, I would hear this clunky noise. It almost sounded like the suspension or something on the passenger side was settling or loose, for the lack of a better word. And that bothered me. And I was afraid that might have to do something with the alignment, or basically felt like I had something not torqued down correctly. Well, come to find out, that was exactly what happened. I did torque down my front sway bars to the drop links. I had loosened those in order to get it out of the way during my major service, like when I changed out the oil pan or cleaned out the oil pan and put a new gasket. But I just failed to torque that back down. And what I ended up doing towards the end of various service things that I was doing, I would paint any bolt that I torqued down, and that was key in me trying to figure out what bolts I torqued and didn't torque. So those were the first ones I looked at. I took a wrench to it. They were nice and loose, and so I tightened those up per spec, and I think that went away. So that was kind of satisfying. It was embarrassing to first realize that I forgot to do that, but then satisfying to fix the problem. So kind of like right now on yesterday's drive and today's drive, it's like the only time that I feel like in a while where I feel like the car's, you know, kind of sorted out. Oh, the other thing I did do is kind of mess around with my MAF, the mass airflow whatever unit. I had oh, I'm hearing stuff now. What is that noise? That was a deer. All right, here we go. You gotta figure something out. Wow, she's going straight up there. Okay, so when I got the vehicle smogged, it turned out that it was running a little bit rich, so I had to lean it out a little bit. So I did that. So I was playing around with that a little bit. I'd like to take this car to a tuner so I can kind of dyno it and find out exactly what the correct setting for that MAF is. Anyways, that's pretty much it. It's not too interesting. I just wanted to be able to kind of talk about things. On yesterday's video, I did talk, and then the audio didn't come out, and anyways, I decided to give this a shot with this mic. Hopefully it comes out well. I'm gonna probably kill the air here in a little bit, drive a little bit more aggressively.